Praise the Lord, everybody. It's your boy, Professor J here, greeting you tonight to the Post Power Play Fantasy Football Show. And you know what that sounds like, Sense? It sounds like it's playoff time in Fantasyland. What you say?
I concur, sir.
Man, go ahead and say what up to the people, and then we're going to get right on in.
You know what it is. It's your boy Sense back again, ready to talk some football with you and get you right for this week 15. Let's get it.
That's right. So, of course, for all our sponsors and for Big Reg out there, we are Positions on Sports Talk Show, post live streaming on Facebook Live, our Positions on Sports Talk Show YouTube channel, and you can also check us out on Twitch. We are a sports talk show made from the perspectives of fans for the fans, and we like to get down to the nitty-gritty for the fans. We like to have those opinions, the passions, all those things come forth so that you all can tune in and argue and go back and forth with us if you need to. But the one main thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a good time. So tonight we're going to talk about all you playoff warriors. Some people missed the playoffs. I'll go ahead and say I'm one of them, but I'm still having a good time going through all the fantasy football things for you. So tonight, we're going to give you all the highlights, the injuries, the top dogs, the sleepers, the quick hits, the quiet storm, the closers, and of course, whom you should be starting and whom you should be sitting. So sit back and relax, and we're about to give it to you the way we know how. So, Sense, do I have your permission to start with the injury reports?
You do.
All right. So here we go. Let's start with the quarterbacks. We got Matthew Stafford. So, of course, he didn't practice today. Based on Stafford's history, if he can play, he will. And he pretty much said as much on Wednesday. However, I wouldn't plan on using him either way this week. So you might want to go ahead and keep him on the sidelines. All right, same thing with the next quarterback, Drew Brees. He's still got the rib injuries. Even though he's been cleared to go back to practice this week, I wouldn't necessarily put him in this big game against the Kansas City Chiefs. But it's your team, so you can do what you like. But I'm thinking that this might be a week that, win or lose, you go ahead and you keep Brees on the bench.
A broken rib? Nah, son.
Yeah. And if I just won, he had several. Almost all of his ribs got touched. So I'm just saying that maybe I would sit him on the shelf.
Yeah, they could have let Jason cook.
Right. Whether they get the number one seed or not, they're going to the playoffs. So I would rest up my number one quarterback and get him ready for just that. Next up, Daniel Jones. It was a little premature that they started him last week, but he's still dealing with a hamstring and an ankle. He was limited in practice this week, and I would say there's some doubt about his availability, but definitely there shouldn't be any doubt for any of you out there who have him on your teams. You should not start him. Sit him on the bench. And lastly, for quarterbacks, Alex Smith. He has the calf injury. He didn't practice this week. The team is reportedly optimistic about Smith's chances. Okay, let me hit the brakes and let's pump a little bit right here. Alex Smith, if he can get out there, he's going to play. Mm-hmm. But should I say that clear head should prevail here? This is the same leg that he had his injury on, that he has had reconstructive surgery on, that they have taken, meat and fat out of different parts of his body to put into his leg so that he could literally walk again. Mm-hmm. Now that he's back on the field, should the people, like the coaches, step in and say, Alex, this is not a good thing. I know we're trying to make a playoff push, but this might not be the best thing long term, not just for your football career, but for your quality of life afterwards. So we pumping the brakes. So what you think on Alex Smith potentially starting this weekend?
Well, my saner head, of course, is going to say, keep him out. Health is more important. My fan head, however, is saying, what are your other options? I mean,
the other option.
The other options, but it's a rhetorical question. Like, do you really want to put Haskins in there? Like, he almost And I got love for Haskins, so don't get me wrong. I know that's your guy, but he almost lost that game for us. Like he kept San Fran in it, like, toward the end. If it wasn't for that defense stepping up, we could have easily lost that. So I would say this probably will, of course, first and foremost keep Smith out. After all of that, work they did to have him at least walk again, and now you're back on the field. I wouldn't even chance it. Haskins, this should be a game for him to prove, like, hey, like, let me shut the naysayers up, or just run the heck out of that ball. This is when you dink and dunk. You throw short passes to McKissick. You throw short passes to you run Barber. You run north south.
Mm-hmm.
Gibson, I know you're gonna get to that part too. He's still nursing a toe injury, so I don't know how healthy he's gonna be. But you run that ball and you open it up for the pass, but you ground and pound, because I don't know how good Seattle's run defense is, but I know that pass defense is super suspect. So you better look for your boy, your college teammate, Terry McLaurin, very early and very often.
Right. So let me make it plain for all the fantasy folks. If Alex Smith is your best option going into the playoffs, then I feel sorry for you. So he needs to sit, and there's nothing else to be said about that fantasy-wise. Okay. Running backs, Christian McCaffrey, still dealing with that thigh. He didn't practice either. Doesn't seem like McCaffrey is likely to make his return this week, so keep him on the bench. Mike Davis still remains the high-end running back in that offense. Ronald Jones, finger, reserve list for COVID-19. So need I say more? Lingering injury issues, poor performances for players coming off of COVID-19 protocol. I would say sit him as well. Leonard Fournette will probably be the main back in that Buccaneers offense Sunday. So even if he does clear to play, I wouldn't expect much out of Ronald Jones. Ezekiel Elliott, calf, we're just going to keep it moving. We talked about him several times. Antonio Gibson, his toe. So, of course, he didn't practice, and Washington hasn't ruled him out. But if you know anything about turf toe injuries, that doesn't bode well for running backs, definitely for those with quick steps and that like to accelerate off a dime. I would not say Antonio Gibson is a good start for your fantasy weekend. Raheem Mostert, ankle. He didn't practice. Mostert has been in and out of that backfield lineup the entire year. So based on that history of him being banged up, we said weeks ago, if you got Mostert, you probably want to keep him on the bench if you have a better option. James Conner, he's dealing with a quad. Steelers didn't have him practice on Thursday. It's not looking real great. He's probable, so I probably wouldn't start him either. Melvin Gordon, shoulder, limited in practice. Okay. Gordon is making progress, could be in the lineup to play Saturday against the Bills. He's not recommended as a starter either. So I know y'all are saying, wow, what running back can I use? But remember, this is the injury report list. This is why we're telling you this. So if you were thinking about starting these guys, you start to think twice or even more about that. Salvon Ahmed, limited in practice. Same thing. Chase Edmonds, ankle, did not practice. Going to the wide receivers, Julio Jones. Now, we know Julio is a gamer. So the hamstring is still bothering him. That type of injury is going to hamper him till the end of the season. So you have to make a decision. It's 50-50. Can he make big plays for you and get you points? Yes. Then he comes off the field. So that's a toss-up. Even with a hampered hamstring of Julio Jones, he can still get you some points, but he's not going to stay on the field for many snaps of the game. So just think about that. If you don't have any better wide receiver options, then of course I would start Julio Jones. Robert Woods, thigh. He didn't practice. You don't love to see this, but Sean McVay told reporters he does not expect Woods to be limited in Week 15 against the Jets. So notice I said not. So if you are a Woods fan and you like him, in the last couple of weeks, he has performed well in spot plays on the field. And Goff is starting to sling it a little bit more, even though I'm not a believer in Goff. He does have some decent weapons to throw to. So again, just like Julio Jones, if you don't have a better option at wide receiver, then you might want to go ahead and throw Woods in there. Brandon Cooks, I mean, it's like a broken record with him. It's the same thing we said about Woods the entire season. Both in and out of the lineup. You can roll the dice if you don't have better options, but I'm hoping that if you've made your playoffs, that none of these receivers are on your roster, so it makes it easy to go ahead and play your guy. Kenny Galladay, hip, did not practice. All right, we're going to keep it moving. Deebo Samuel, whom a lot of people love, he's still dealing with that lingering hamstring as well, just like Julio Jones. He did not practice. So they really don't expect him to play. So just keep that in mind. Devontae Parker, he was limited in practice. He's not expected to play this weekend. John Brown, ankle, designated to return from IR. So Brown could return this week. I think week 16 is probably a more realistic goal. All right, tight ends. Noah Fant. A lot of people love Noah Fant, but again, he's been in and out of the lineup the entire year. He has an undisclosed illness, and when I hear the word undisclosed, even if they do play, it's more likely that they won't be a complete factor because you have no idea what undisclosed means. Mike Gesicki. If you saw him get injured last week, he's got the shoulder. Even though they haven't ruled him out, a wide receiver a tight end that likes the length of the ball, high point the ball, and catch up here out of range. If them shoulders are hurt, you play ball as a tight end or receiver. If them shoulders are aching, your range of motion doesn't extend to getting those balls. And he made some great extended catches last week before getting hurt. So without that range of motion, I would kind of sit him out. Kyle Rudolph, nothing said. Irv Smith is actually playing better than him. So if you got Irv Smith, I would say Irv Smith over Kyle Rudolph. All right, now we're going to the top dogs for the week. Josh Allen, quarterback Bills versus the Broncos. Need I say more? This young man has been performing week in and week out. And it is amazing that going into week 15 and 16 to end the regular season, there are still people out there that doubt this cat. They said, oh, he's going to hit a brick wall when he get to the meat of his schedule, start playing tougher teams. But all he's doing is outperforming what people thought that he was. Never mind last year, what he was last year. I told people this year, Josh Allen will prove a lot of people wrong. So while you're seeing like the lights and the sunshine of people like Carson Wentz like dimming and going down, this guy is going straight up. He is going to be a top dog this week versus the Broncos. And you going to love this sense. The Washington football team defense, okay? I got them as a top performer this week. It was said today on other outlets that will remain nameless that nobody wants to see this Washington football team defense. Nobody, not even the top teams in the league. So if they mess around and make the playoffs, whomever that 2 seed is, they got to mess with the Washington football team. They are not going to be happy. First of all, they got to travel to Washington. They got to come here. And then you got to play that defense. Oh, man. That's going to be what they call a slobber So, yes, I have them as a top performer. If you've noticed that defense the entire year, each week, they get better. They're trending up. Absolutely. And if that last week is what we saw and they're going to get better this week, man, we in for a treat. And you know, Russell Wilson has been sacked several times this year.
Oh, man. I mean,
punished. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me talk it real quick here. I mean, the Giants pretty much exposed that. Exposed how vulnerable Russell is in that pocket. And you take a much better defense like Washington, they're gonna pressure that man like the entire day. So I feel sorry for that offensive line, and I definitely feel sorry for Russ because chasing them boys and Sweat, they're gonna bring the pain
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is going to be a nice game because Russ is one of the quarterbacks that's been hit and sacked the most this year. I mean, his offensive line is terrible. I mean, he's going to be running for his life. So, I do expect a bright spot out of that offense still, but for the most part, the defense should handle their business. And then, of course, I got to go with Tyreek Hill to close out the top dogs. I know they're playing the Saints. I know the Saints have a top-rated defense, but that top-rated defense seems to me like they're on cruise control again. Again, last week, they played a lackluster game. And even though Jalen Hurts is that dude, I've been saying it all that time, they should have had a better game plan versus a mobile quarterback. It's not like they didn't know he had wheels, not like they didn't know he had an arm. So I don't know what happened, but I think that Pat Mahomes will pull out, ramp it up a little bit more, but he's going to hit Tyreek Hill, who is going to run rampant through this secondary. And I hate to say it, but it's going to happen. I think the Chiefs need to have a come to Jesus moment with themselves. And maybe they just, waiting for Drew to come back. But I think that defense is going to stay competitive in this game. But I still think as far as a top dog, Tyreek Hill will blaze this week. All right, on to the sleepers. Now, of course, I had to pull Jalen Hurts back in. Now, he's still a sleeper. I know people saying, oh, but he had his coming out party. But 1 week does not an NFL quarterback make. All right. Understand that we have a whole list throughout the years of quarterbacks that have had one good weekend. All right. So, yes, I think he's going to have a decent to good game, which is why he's in the sleepers. He still made the honors this week. I think he still needs to prove that he can do it week in and week out now that he's getting all the reps and he's the bona fide starter probably for the rest of the year, unless he has a stinker of a game. But I have him doing well here. Then we got J.K. Dobbins, running back, Ravens. They're playing the Jaguars. And J.K. has been one of those rookies who have been ramping up this entire year. Now that Ingram has been hurt and can't really stay healthy, he's gotten the bulk of the carries and really able to shine and show what he can do. I mean, kudos to Ohio State running backs. They generally always show up and show out when they get to the next level. Shout out to Eddie George. Phillip Rivers. I mean, the old man, quarterback quotes versus the Texans. Colts. He has been proving people wrong, including myself. Mm-hmm. He has been wheeling and dealing. I don't know what was going on in San Diego. Maybe that's more of an indictment of the current coaching staff. I hate to say it, but his interceptions, his lack of quality decision making while he was the quarterback the last couple of years in LA or San Diego, he has now found the fountain of youth. And I'm talking about finding cats other than T.Y. Hilton. Hilton just found the end zone a couple of weeks ago. He has been spreading the ball around and making great decisions, and he has the Colts in prime position to get a spot in the playoffs.
Well, a good running game also helps that.
Oh, yeah, he has two of them. Yeah, they got a great running game. Yeah, so I agree with that. But we all know that a great running game is the best friend to a quarterback anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I was just about to say it's like Rivers they put in the furnished department. All right. You have a stout offensive line, you have receivers, and you have a good running game. You're poised to excel. So I'm very happy for him.
That's right. And he's shutting a lot of people on the other networks up that said he couldn't do it. All right, quick hits. Ryan Tannehill, quarterback Titans versus the Lions. I mean, who else? Everybody that says Tannehill can't do it, normally when they play the lunchbox teams like the Lions they have this week, he's just going to pass all over him. And if Derrick Henry don't grind him up, then he'll make enough big plays, big throws down the field in order for them to cruise to an easy victory. And then again, I had Jalen Hurts in two spots this week because they're playing the Cardinals. The Cardinals have a decent defense, don't get me wrong. But I think that when they face a more mobile quarterback, when they face a quarterback that can kind of make moves and get out of the pocket, because remember, they're in the same division with Russell Wilson. And if you watch the games that they play against Russ, as long as Russ can get out that pocket and buy himself some time, he has damaged that defense. So I expect Jalen Hurts to take a page from Russ's book and kind of use his legs in order to buy him time. See, this is the great part about being a young rookie quarterback in the NFL that's mobile. People always say, watch his run, watch his run. But if you can buy your time with your legs instead of taking off and coming out the pocket, your receivers can get open. You can make quality decisions. You saw that against the Saints. I expect them to do it here in this position as well. DK Metcalf, I said there'll be a bright spot on the Seahawks offense against the Washington football team, namely because this guy is virtually unstoppable. He can run routes all over the field. He got the speed. He has the strength. He can get away. He can get out of tackles. So Russ is going to rely on him a lot. It's not every day that you have a wide receiver that actually has the strength and ability of a tight end. Dude can do the same things that a tight end can do, but he has the speed to beat you straight way down the field. So I expect him to be a quick hitter this week. Big catches, big runs, big plays. Quiet storm. Taysom Hill. Quarterback, Saints versus the Chiefs. Now he's going to have to do everything. He's going to be Mr. Swiss Army knife this weekend because he's going to have to throw, block. He's going to have to run. He's going to have to do everything that he needs to because the Chiefs have a high-powered offense, which means that you're going to have a track meet. And in order for him to be able to keep up with Patrick Mahomes and them boys, he's going to have to be able to score some points. I'm disappointed in the use of Kamara the last couple of weeks. So maybe Sean Payton kind of talks with his quarterback to kind of get the running back in gear. So Taysom Hill will still be a quiet storm. He's going to wreak havoc this week. So use him if you have him. Cam Akers, they're playing the Jets. Okay, running back Rams, they're playing the Jets. So this rookie has been doing really well in the last couple of weeks. So I expect him to get the bulk of the carries again this week and then kind of run roughshod through this Jets defense, which really, what are they playing for? I mean, I think their pride got snatched from them against the Raiders because that was their closest victory. Other than that, I just don't see it happening. So I think everybody is just getting fired at the end of this season and players going to move on after that. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I got to go with Terry McLaurin. He has not had a great last couple of weeks. We know that. But I think that this week against the Seahawks, who don't have the best of secondaries, that he can get open, whether they try to double team him or not, because he is the man on this offense and everybody knows. But I expect McKissick to get some carries and some catches. Logan is starting to bring fear into a lot of defenses. So now that you got to pay attention to this big cat, it's going to open up some more opportunities for McLaurin this week to eat against the Seahawks. And then real quick, because no explanation is needed for the closers, I got Pat Mahomes, I got Aaron Rodgers, and yes, I have Derek Carr. Derek Carr may be a turnover machine the last 3 weeks of the season, but I think that he gets it together against the Chargers. The Chargers are like the Jets. It's kind of like they already know that at the end of the season, it's going to clean house. So it's really not a lot of passion out there on the football field. And I expect tonight for Derek Carr, and we'll get to that, who we picking tonight to really shine in this spot. All right. So now we are concluded with the injuries and the honors, and now we get to the best part of the night, and those are the sensible picks. All right, Sense, you got it.
All righty. Thank you, Prof. Yes. It's your boy Sense back again with these week's sensible picks. So let's get it. First with the for show starts. Prof already talked about him. Terry McLaurin versus Seattle. As we lamented time and time again, the pass defense of Seattle is horrid at best, which gives ample opportunity for the 1,000-yard receiver to have a big game and put Washington closer to clinching the NFC East. Next, I have Robert Tonyan, tight end, versus Carolina. Not that Rodgers doesn't already have a bevy of weapons, but Tonyan has already been good for a touchdown or two in the last couple of games. I don't see that changing. Next, Miles Sanders, running back, Philly versus Arizona. Philly finally came to its senses and started using the run more. That's good news for Miles Sanders, who had a beast of a game against the Saints. And last, I have Jared Goff versus the New York Jets.
Really?
Keeping with the theme, it's against the Jets.
True.
Enough said. I mean, and now for my sit 'em downs. First, for my sit 'em down, I have Matt Ryan versus Tampa Bay. That Bucks defense will be too much for Matty Ice, who will go ice cold. I just don't trust him. So sit him. Next, I have Giovanni Bernard versus Pittsburgh. Bernard hasn't been producing in this past few games, and it won't get any easier against the Steelers, who have finally gotten their act together. Who I predict will finally get their act together and shut Cincy's run game down. Next, I have Tyler Lockett versus Washington. DK Metcalf has resumed the role of Russ's favorite target, leaving Lockett to play the back. And against a 6th-ranked pass defense, I don't see him getting any looks. And last, I have the New York Jets defense. They are going to get slaughtered by that Rams passing attack and run game. So if you can find another defense to start, even if it's Cincinnati, at least they're going to get you some points, because I see the Jets defense going in the minus column.
Right.
I mean, category.
It's a crying shame because we only have one friend that we know of, Paul, that's a Jets fan. And I just, every time we talk about the Jets, I just see his face. It's just hilarious.
I feel sorry for his loss.
Right. Because he sticks in there year in and year out. So shout out to you, Paul.
Shout out, Paul. My condolences.
Now, Tyler Lockett is always interesting to me because he and Golden Tate to me are like the same player. They're just different guys, and both used to be on Seattle's team. He can make the big plays. You still have to fear him, but there are times where you just can't find him. He like on a milk carton. Right. And I feel like even though when you have a bona fide number one, your number two should be on the heels of the number one. So exactly. To me, I can always remember Jerry Rice, but never forgot about John Taylor. You know what I mean? So you can always think about Art Monk, but you never forgot about Jerry Rice or Ricky Sanders for that matter. So it's like, but Tyler Lockett, you know he's there, but it's like, well, where is he? So
I'm trying to in the back of Washington's mind, like they still have to keep an eye open for him. But I mean, I think the game plan probably for Washington will be, first of all, to double Metcalf when you can, or have someone cover, at safety. And Cameron Curl's been doing a really good job of that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a shocker.
So keep an eye out for him, but don't expect much either.
Right. So. And Giovanni Bernard, he started well, in relief of Mixon. But then it's kind of like his star just fell back down. When he fumbled last week, coach was just like, man, just get on the sideline.
Yeah, I had him on my team, so I felt that effect personally.
Yeah, but that's cool. All right, so let's move on. We are at the top of the hour. We did a good job. So now we're going to go to our last segment of the night, and that's Who You Got. So we got Raiders or Chargers. So who you got tonight and why, Sense?
I have the Raiders only because they are, in a way, still fighting for their playoff lives. So I think they're going to come with a sense of urgency. They're going to not make the same mistakes as they did before. I definitely see Derek Carr, even with the loss of Ruggs, due to COVID protocol. I still see Waller getting some burn. I definitely see Jacobs getting some burn, and I see that defense wreaking havoc on the Chargers, who, you already said, pretty much on their way out. They're pretty much wanting to close the season anyway. They're like, let's get it over with. And I see the Raiders prevailing and getting the victory, the W.
Okay. I see Herbert doing well because I see a young QB in him, sort of like Josh Allen, that's just going to get better. He's going through his adversity now, which is good. You generally want your rookie quarterbacks to take their lumps now so that they can learn from it, but you're confident that their performances throughout the year will continue to improve. And see, they give you something every game. And that's probably the biggest criticism of Mr. Haskins is that he tends to digress, and you're not seeing that improvement from game to game whenever he gets a shot. So
Right.
Herbert, to me, will perform well tonight, but it won't nearly be enough to stop the storm that the Raiders are bringing. Because again, you just said it, they are playing for a playoff spot. They are at home. It's a night game. It's going to be a wonderful atmosphere because I think they'll have a few thousand fans in attendance. And I just think there'll be too much of the stout running game with Jacobs. I think because he has a lot to prove. I know he wants to end the season on a strong note because he's been injury prone this year. And then, of course, Carr is another one of those guys where, people dog him, he comes back. People dog him, he comes back. So here's another game where he comes back because he's got to prove people wrong. So, this will make my dad happy, but I'm going with the Raiders. And it's not even going to be a close game. I think they win by 10 points or more tonight. And I think they really show up. If you have Waller, I would play him tonight. If you have Carr, I would play him tonight. And even on the flip side, if you have Herbert and he's your playoff quarterback, I think you can't go wrong.
Or Eckler, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you have Austin Eckler,
right.
Definitely play him.
Tight end wise, there's not a lot out there, but if you have Hunter Henry, he's also a good play if your other tight end isn't really producing for you. So those are our thoughts for tonight. We really appreciate you all for tuning in. Go ahead and share this with folks. Next week will be our last fantasy football show for the year, as everyone should be pretty much wrapping up their playoffs and crowning a champion for next week. So we look forward to seeing you guys next week so we can carry it on home. And we will announce our trophy winner on the air from our league next week. So stay tuned. You all be safe, and God bless you.